in part 4, is it? Yeah, part 4 of the prophecy update, The Empire Strikes Back. I went over the EU Empire and the head of the EU, and I suggested that this may be where the Antichrist rises to power, being the head of that empire. And I also suggested the Pope could be involved as the false prophet. And I mean, some of you might think this is slander and so on, and oh, you can't say that. But I haven't said when this is going to happen yet, so I haven't named anyone. And I'm just considering all possibilities here. The EU is now the wealth of the world. You know, we've got more money than anyone, the EU. The head of the EU, I mean, it's becoming a superpower. America is a superpower. And China, I mean, they're looking to take over China, the entire world. And they're going to be very clever in doing so. And they're going to go for Hollywood. They're going to promote communism via television. I get out of breath, so I've been fasting, and yeah, sorry for, you know, they've not been that great, these videos either, you know. My brain's not quite as good as it normally is. Let's not point fingers at who the false prophet and Antichrist are going to be. We don't want to name names, and we don't want to say for definite who it is and where in the world it's going to happen. But I think the two most likely are what I just mentioned. Rome, EU, China, US. All of Revelation is unfolding as we speak. A lot of it has already happened, and it's just continuing, okay? These events that we're told will happen, and even the ones after the trumpet sounds from the angels, it's all culminating, but some of them have been ongoing for the last few decades, including the worship of the image of the beast television. Yeah? Since when? The 50s? Was it the 50s? We're talking nearly a century. Yeah? Nearly a century of this madness. And what I'm going to do now is go over a little subheading in my book. You'll like this. Unequivocal affirmation of the fulfillment of Revelation. I've got loads of bullet points here, but I could have put a whole book of bullet points, but I had to stop at, you know, 2.5 pages, otherwise people would just you know, get bored or something. But I'm going to add some more to these. This is a first edition copy of my book, and you know, I've just done a second edition. Okay, bullet point 1. The old Babylon is present day Iraq, and it's experiencing mass conflict. Combined with its neighbouring countries, this is presently the world's hottest war zone. Number 2. New York matches every single description of the New Babylon very precisely. 3. We are overdue a super eruption that would fulfill future prophecies. Killer bees have begun to colonize North America and match John's description of locusts down to the finest detail. Now that is the one theory I'm not too sure about, and it does mention bees. It's practically talking about bees, and the events preceding that are to be taken literally. The mountain burning with fire, a volcano, the darkness, the fish dying in the sea. They're to be taken literally. It's when we start talking about the beast and so on, where you need to interpret it a certain way. So I think we will literally have bees from Beelzebub stinging people and just, you know, bringing them much pain. And I went with what we know, and what we know is killer bees are colonizing North America because of some man experimenting with hybridization, and guess what? They escaped from South America and they've made their way up to North America. We've now got killer Africanized bees in much of the US, and they're becoming an increasing threat, okay, over there. So, I mean, that's interesting that there are killer bees doing that in that part of the world right now. I go over the microchip implant system and its interference, yeah, with bees' navigation, and this could attract them in large swarms, okay? This is a radical theory here, but yeah, they're attracted to vibrations. They make their nests near power equipment, electronic equipment and so on, because they're attracted to these vibrations. And I think you'll read it in the book. I'm not going to mention it in the videos. A microchip implant system is now being implemented in the US, and it will be used to enslave those who bear the mark of the beast. The Americans have colonized many parts of Iraq, including the old Babylon many believe will be restored. Now, as I said in my book, Satan already has his new Babylon. He doesn't need to restore the old one. Alright? For a lot of prophecy scholars out there who are focusing on the old Babylon, saying it's going to be restored and so on, he doesn't even need to do that. And the centre of world trade is New York, not the old Babylon in Iraq. And Revelation, the end of Revelation, says that it will be the centre of trade of the world. So Christians are being persecuted worldwide, mainly in the Middle East and China. Hundreds of thousands of Jews have returned to their homeland, fulfilling the prophecies of all three Old Testament prophets, Isaiah, Jeremiah and Ezekiel, respectively. A final battle of Armageddon at Megiddo is very much likely, considering the large-scale conflicts currently taking place in this part of the world and its strategic importance. there was a recent battle that took place there actually, in the 1920s I think it was. Yeah. An army of 200 million has now become a reality in China. Now I've edited this in my second book. Oh God. As I said, I've been fasting lately. Sometimes I have to actually... It's funny. Oh crap. Sometimes I have to get on my knees on the floor like this and just breathe. Yeah? Because I feel faint. And then when I get up I feel faint as well. Because, you know, doing that makes it worse. But I feel like I'm going to fall over or something. When I did my big one last year, you know, I went all the way. That's what I was doing all the time. I'm like, oh, I'm going to fall over. I'll have to do this. Yeah. Funny stuff. Oh, anyway. 200 million army. I've mentioned that China have already got that here, but the second edition I put in that the Middle East will form that army of 200 million. Unheard of cataclysmic disasters are becoming more commonplace and have crippled entire countries. Yeah. Yellowstone caldera is filling with magma and rising rapidly and has received its largest earthquake in 30 years. 4.8 magnitude. That ain't child's play, okay? That's considered high on the Mercalli scale. And now I've got that quote from head of the EU about it being an empire. And if you look in the resources of the book, and also at the end of the EU part 4 of the prophecy update, if you look at the end there, the resources there, I've got the YouTube video where he says the EU is an empire, and they are very proud of it. Yeah. Islamic extremists are beheading, torturing and crucifying Christians as we speak, and have driven them out of their homeland to quite literally flee to the mountains. The mountains of northwest Iraq, to be precise. And I'm gonna add those really important ones that I've included in this prophecy update. Namely the China and Russia revelation I had just yesterday, and the Hollywoodism, yeah, new word there for you. Hollywoodism is coming. The Chinese, the Koreans, they love to do this already. They know that influence is power. If they can take over Hollywood and use that to their advantage, they will be able to deceive man and spread communism to the entire world via Hollywoodism, okay? And that's what they're going to do. That's what they're planning, and that is how they are going to turn everyone in the world, the 7 heads with the names of blasphemy written on them. Now I checked this out. Yeah, if the 7 heads are continents, then I'll research the names of the continents. Yeah? And I looked at all of them, and the only one I could find that resembled a name of blasphemy was Russia, but it wasn't even the word Russia, it was Russian. I'm not going to say what it means, it's well, very rude. But yeah, And I thought, okay, that doesn't really work, but I know it's continents. I know the 7 heads are continents. So then I interpreted it differently, and I thought, oh my word, this is where it clicked, this is where the penny dropped, and this is where I felt sick. Because I suddenly understood that it meant all 7 heads, all 7 continents of the world will blaspheme God in the end. Why? Because of Hollywoodism. Oh yeah. This stuff is for real.